The image opened on a high-contrast title panel showing two elemental figures circling a central emblem. That spectacle gave way to narrow comic panels streaked with motion and noise. Red speech bubbles erupted and named Zhang Wanjing in bitter taunts and questions. Voices asked about his father and suggested he was unwanted and alone. The insults repeated phrases like bad kid and nobody wants him. Panels then showed broken pages and a warped doorway under harsh light. Laughter soaked the frames and deepened into a black void at the bottom. Wide reflective eyes appeared in the dark and watched the falling laughter. The sequence opened on scattered schoolwork and a toppled backpack beneath a harsh red wall. Torn pages showed written insults and whispered questions about his father and worth. Voices named Zhang Wanjing and repeated that he was unwanted and alone. Dark silhouettes with many white eyes closed in and watched his pale form. The laughter sank into a black hush that pressed against his head and chest. Then a hand seized Zhang Wanjing's hair and shoved him down while shadows recoiled. An orange-haired youth snapped a furious question and tore through the dark chorus. The orange-haired youth exploded forward and shouted at the circling taunts with fury. He told them to stop and forced the words get lost at their faces. Then he grabbed Zhang Wanjing's hand and hauled the smaller boy out of the ring. The younger boy froze, whispering brother and thinking of Bing. The orange-haired youth grinned and promised he would have Yuanzi's back next time. The smaller boy answered with a bright yes and a relieved smile. They walked away hand in hand down a sunlit corridor and left the darkness behind. The orange-haired youth reached for Zhang Wanjing, but hesitated as hands hovered in the air. Zhang Wanjing looked up at the dark shapes and heard a strained name called aloud. Shadows thickened and voices circled the boys like cold smoke. Zhang Wanjing shouted for Brother Bing and stepped forward into the black tide. A bright silhouette answered, and a familiar voice whispered if it's you before dissolving. Zhang Wanjing pleaded for Bing to return as the light broke into drifting fragments and vanished. Earlier, the orange-haired youth reached toward Zhang Wanjing while other hands hovered in the dark. Zhang Wanjing called for Brother Bing as shadows closed around the boys. A bright silhouette answered briefly, then broke into drifting fragments and vanished. Later, a young man woke sweating on his bed at dawn. Glowing text said you can definitely do it across the darkness. He sat up clutching his head and reached for a small bottle. He recalled a strange high school illness that forced involuntary recall of past memories and heightened analysis. When the symptoms flared, he was hit by a splitting headache and watched the bottle as pain peaked. After the earlier confrontation and the bright silhouette's brief reply, Zhang Wanjing woke at dawn sweating and clutching his head. He rubbed his eyes and read the notes about his treatment and the medicine his mother had brought from abroad. The pills sat on the table while he prepared breakfast and paced through the room. He felt the drug's effect weakening and thought his tolerance had increased. Voices called from the dining room. Yuanzi sat relaxed while Auntie talked about taking her shopping. Zhang entered, heard the plan, and answered simply that he would come. Zhang Wanjing examined the anonymous package with a frown and rising unease. He realized the sender was unnamed and felt a chill run down his spine. Auntie burst forward and shouted threats. She threatened to break his legs if he went shopping. Her fist connected and Zhang flinched, bewildered and protesting about broken legs. Auntie insisted she did not make idle threats. In the kitchen, Mom praised Yuanzi and urged him to date. She leaned on Zhang, using him as a human shield. Zhang muttered about being used again, while his worry about the package lingered. Zhang Wanjing kept the anonymous package and felt unease about its unknown sender. Auntie exploded into accusations and threats about a blind date while physically confronting the group. Mom praised Yuanzi and pushed Zhang Wanjing forward, using him as a human shield in the argument. Zhang muttered that he was being used, but left to open his package anyway. He inspected the contents and reacted with guarded curiosity. He found a small black card with a textured face. It resembled a VIP membership card for a high-end wellness club. He examined it closely, then slipped it into his pocket. Zhang Wanjing opened the package and unfolded a handwritten note. The note claimed the card could change Yuanzi's life and was signed Lei Yibing. Zhang linked the name to brother Bing and frowned. He questioned the card's stated importance and felt insulted by the implication. Suspicion hardened into anger, and he accused Bing of corruption in his head. His expression darkened when his phone rang. A caller's playful voice praised brother Bing and implied judgment. Zhang answered the call, bracing to confront the speaker. Zhang Wanjing opened the package and read a handwritten note about a life-changing card. He tied the sender's name to brother Bing and felt insulted by that implication. Anger hardened into suspicion, and he began to accuse Bing in his own mind. A playful phone voice rang and Zhang braced to confront the caller immediately. The caller identified himself as Lei and said he was at Bing's school. Lei reported Bing had been missing since the day before yesterday and worried. Security footage showed Bing never left his dorm room, and investigators found no exit. A roommate confirmed Bing was present and then suddenly gone without explanation. Zhang feared kidnapping and wondered if someone had targeted brother Bing deliberately. Zhang Wanjing told Lei Yibing not to panic and promised to ask around. He ended the call and scanned the labels and notes flashing through his head. Notes reading Bing never left the dorm room and not caught on surveillance appeared. Other tags listed Jiangmen Province, a sent package, a letter, and a black card. He reached into his pocket for the black card and froze at emptiness. He checked again and swore he had put it there moments before. The card was gone and Zhang Wanjing registered only a cold dread. He realized someone or something had taken the card without trace. Zhang Wanjing had told Lei Yibing not to panic and promised to ask around. He ended the call and scanned the notes flashing through his mind. Bing never left the dorm room, not caught on surveillance, Jiangnan Province, a sent package, a letter, and the black card. He reached into his pocket and found it empty. The missing card left him cold. He muttered black card and Jiangnan Province aloud. A faint plea for brother Bing rose while a small jar of pills appeared. Zhang's head throbbed. He squeezed his nose and sweat beaded as pain sharpened. Zhang Wanjing had told Lei Yibing not to panic and promised to ask around. He ended the call and sifted the clues cycling through his mind. Bing had not left the dorm, surveillance showed nothing, a sent package, a letter, Jiangnan Province, and the black card. He checked his pockets and found them empty. The absent card chilled him. A faint plea for brother Bing rose, while a small jar of pills appeared in his thoughts. Pain throbbed behind his eyes. Voices taunted him in the hall. An orange-haired youth cut through the crowd, but offered no help. Zhang remained alone beneath their stare. Zhang Wanjing had warned Lei Yibing and promised to ask around for news. He checked his pockets and felt the absence of the black card with a chill. A small jar of pills had lingered in his thoughts beneath a throb of pain. Voices taunted him in the hall, while an orange-haired youth had cut through the crowd. On his desk, a spilled pill and a handful of blue capsules lay in his palm. The phone rang with a request from the Public Security Bureau about Yuanzi. Family voices argued urgently at the door and demanded Zhang Yuanzi come out immediately. He rose, collected his belongings, and left the room with a reluctant nod. Voices at the door said the visitors came from the Kangwang District Public Security Bureau. They asked to speak with Yuanzi and insisted they needed to ask several questions. Zhang Wanjing insisted he had done nothing and refused any hidden actions. A pair of officers moved forward and spoke of a man named Lei Yibing. An older man stepped out and introduced himself as Zhang Yuanqiang to learn their purpose. The lead investigator asked if anyone knew Lei Yibing and produced a small case card. Bing's name surfaced as the youth recalled they had grown up together and worried. The room tightened, the question hung heavy and demanded answers from the household. Officers from the Kangwang District Public Security Bureau entered the home and announced they needed to question Yuanzi. Zhang Wanjing denied any hidden actions and remained defiant. The lead investigator produced a small case card and asked about a man named Lei Yibing. Zhang Yuanqiang stepped forward and introduced himself to learn their purpose. The officers reported Lei Yibing had gone missing and said he had mailed a package to the household before disappearing. Bing's name surfaced as an acquaintance from youth. The family fell silent as the missing person claim demanded answers. The lead investigator reviewed the case card and asked about the package's sender. Zhang Wanjing said the sender's name was not on it and he did not know who sent it. He said the package had been empty except for plastic wrapping and bubble padding. The investigator said Lei Yibing had mailed a package before he disappeared. He asked to inspect Zhang Wanjing's room computer and cell phone as the last contact. He added the search was not mandatory, but it would be in their best interest to comply. Zhang Wanjing hesitated briefly, then agreed to the search to prove his innocence. An officer motioned for them to proceed, and the household prepared to cooperate. The lead investigator reviewed the case file and asked about the package's sender and contents. Zhang Wanjing said the parcel bore no sender and had only wrapping inside. The investigator asked to inspect Zhang's computer and phone as possible last contacts. Zhang hesitated, then agreed to the search to clear his name. An orange-haired officer stepped forward and requested Zhang's phone. He blushed and stammered. He said the files were for self-study and not shared. He then handed the phone over. The officer assured them the search focused only on matters related to Lei Yibing. The lead investigator recapped the team's findings and the remaining gaps. He outlined the roommate's disappearance, the bathroom CCTV blind spot, and the lack of witnesses. Zhang Wanjing stayed guarded and revealed no new information. The investigator urged Zhang to notify them immediately if anything emerged and promised further follow-up. He watched Zhang and warned that continued silence could leave Zhang vulnerable. He finished by giving contact instructions and by saying the next person to go missing could be Zhang. The lead investigator had reviewed findings and warned Zhang about the risk. Zhang Wanjing bristled at the implied threat and thanked them stiffly. Auntie then entered and announced the check was done. She smiled, handed Zhang a business card, and urged immediate contact if anything came up. Lei Yibing and the visitors bowed, thanked the household, and prepared to leave. The group promised follow-up and stepped out. Zhang's cheeks reddened at Auntie's small expression, and he was left seated, guarded and uncertain as the door closed. The investigators finished questioning and left after asking to be informed about Yibing. Auntie lingered at the doorway and fretted that he had been perfectly fine moments earlier. Zhang Wanjing complained of a headache and asked to lie down. She told him to wait and said to notify Grandpa about Brother Bing and have him contact Uncle Lei. Zhang agreed and sank inward, guarded. Outside, the sun hit the apartment block and a black SUV pulled up. Inside the car, an older man swirled wine and asked Guanya whether they had found anything. The investigators finished questioning and left after demanding to be informed about Yibing. Auntie lingered at the doorway and worried because he had seemed fine minutes earlier. Zhang Wanjing complained of a headache and asked to lie down on the couch. Outside the building, the black SUV returned and the older man swirled his wine. He pressed Guanya to speak, and she announced a major discovery about hidden folders. Guanya explained the folders were labeled Viwo 50 and contained strange preferences and groups. She noted the recycle bin was empty and that the target KTQ joined many social circles. Her report painted someone outwardly private but active in saving and LSB groups online. The investigators left after demanding to be told about Yibing. Auntie stayed at the doorway, still worried by his sudden illness. Zhang Wanjing complained of a headache and asked to lie on the couch. Outside, the black SUV returned, and the older man pressed Guanya for answers. She reported hidden folders labeled Viwo 50, an empty recycle bin, and many saved groups. Guanya added that KTQ had joined multiple social circles and kept odd preferences saved. She said there was little digital evidence, but a letter from Li Weng was found under a flower pot. The letter contained a character card whose class remained unknown. The investigators left after demanding to be told about Yibing and where evidence was kept. Auntie stayed at the doorway and watched, still clearly worried by his sudden illness. Zhang Wanjing complained of a headache and asked to lie on the couch. Outside, the black SUV returned, and the older man pressed Guanya for answers about digital traces. Guanya reported hidden folders, an empty recycle bin, many saved groups, and a letter found under a flower pot. The man reclined with a glass of wine, smiled thinly, and ordered them to return tomorrow. His words carried an implied threat. The investigators had left after demanding to be told about Yibing and where evidence was kept. Auntie remained at the doorway, worried by his sudden illness. Zhang Wanjing complained of a headache and lay on the couch. Outside, the black SUV returned. The older man pressed Guanya about digital traces, then ordered them to return tomorrow with a thin smile. Night fell over the city. In a dim room, someone sat at a desk and studied the case files, noting disappearances and an empty black chair. He feared parties beyond the Public Security Bureau would take interest and invite danger. He continued working alone at his desk through the night, turning over lines of evidence and possible moves. He thought exposing the whole story to his cousin online would protect them, but messages and calls went unanswered. Frustration hardened into panic as he could not reach that contact and his options shrank. A housemate burst into the room and shouted that the cousin was ignoring WeChat and ghosting them. She hammered that running away would not solve the problem. The small household's tension coiled tighter as darkness fell and plans frayed under the pressure. He worked alone under the desk lamp as new messages and calls piled up. Taunting notifications flickered across his screen and unsettled him. His head throbbed and warmth rushed to his face. He bent forward in pain. A distant voice asked Zhang Yuanqiang if he would do something about Auntie being bullied. Someone defended him, saying he had a headache and must not be disturbed. A small child asked about her blind date, forcing a strained calm. He tried to stand but wavered, caught by the edge of his chair. He stood under lamplight when a woman at the door praised a man. Auntie told Yuanzi he made $1 million a year and owned cars. Yuanzi listened with stiff politeness and asked about her blind date. Far away, a silhouette paused by a window as dusk spread. Zhang Wanjing noticed a sudden focus in his vision and narrowed his eyes. He recoiled when a round black mark and a progress bar appeared on his forehead. He touched the mark and watched the percentage climb with growing alarm. He wondered aloud what would happen at 100%. He stood under lamplight while the black card remained. The card entered his body and left a round mark on his forehead. A progress bar climbed across the sky and reached 93%. Zhang Wanjing touched the mark and felt growing alarm as the number sped upward. The display hit 99, then announced a reboot complete. A character card interface appeared listing a blank name and race human. It assigned class Knight God level 0 with no skills and 0 experience. A morality value read 60 with a stern warning to never drop below it. He lingered beneath the lamplight and watched the translucent card hover. The interface demanded a name at once. He turned the panel and read the prompt, but could not make it respond. He muttered that it was too simple and tried to speak to the system. The board remained silent. He tested touch input and waited for feedback. For a tense moment, he thought a cheat ability had triggered. Then the screen resolved a name in bright letters. The display spelled ZHANG YUANQING across the panel, and a progress bar crawled beneath it. He stood beneath the lamp and read the red warning on the screen. The interface forbade his real name. He muttered that he could not use it and tried variations. The real name input remained blocked. He then typed Yuanshi Tianzan and confirmed. The system accepted the alias and displayed 3 confirmations, including naming successful and a 10-second spirit realm countdown. Data shards and a blue sigil formed above the panel. He watched the cascade and felt the air tighten. He asked aloud if the spirit realm would open. He stood beneath the lamp and confirmed the alias Yuanshi Tianzan. The interface accepted the name and started a 10-second spirit realm countdown. A blue sigil and data shards rose above the panel as the countdown began. Numbers appeared in sequence and flashed within a bright ring. The digits advanced and stuttered while squares of data spun outward. Sparks flickered around the circle as the 7 to 3 markers passed. He watched without moving and felt the air tighten. The final seconds burned away and the ring swelled, ready for the next prompt. He stood beneath the lamp and confirmed the alias Yuanshi Tianzan. The interface accepted it and began the 10-second spirit realm countdown. A bright ring formed overhead while data shards and a blue sigil spiraled upward. Numbers rolled and stuttered as the circle contracted. The final seconds erased hesitation, and the interface shifted to map load. The display announced Spirit Realm Map Night God, Yuling Tunnel number 79. Difficulty was set to level 5, and the type read Single-Player Death Type. Main quest listed surviving 3 hours and exploring Spirit Realm No 0079 with 0% progress. He remained motionless and waited for the next prompt. He had confirmed the alias and watched the system finish the countdown as the Spirit Realm map loaded. The display named Night God, Yuling Tunnel No 0079, set difficulty to level 5 and flagged the run as single-player death type. Main quests demanded 3 hours of survival and exploration with 0 progress. He remained motionless until the interface flashed a rule forbidding non-Spirit Realm items. The platform dissolved beneath him and his senses blurred. Consciousness reformed in a dark hollow. He flexed his fingers, rose into a blue cavern, and peered toward a faint, pulsing display overhead.